I wanted to come on here and pop on today is because just because you get an email that says this is a grant opportunity right now doesn't mean it's for you. Meaning, first off, if you have a grant consultant or a fundraiser that does your grants in-house or out-house, it doesn't matter, then you need to reach out to them. You need to learn more about it before you say yay or nay, right? Because, a lot of nonprofits have volunteers. They are the lifeline of the organization, and they range from different ages. And some are more technology savvy than others. So that's where I come in. I say, okay, give me some time. Let me look at this and see if it's something that aligns with you. Well, $1 million, 3 million, 5 million is great. But if it doesn't align with your nonprofit, let's not waste your time or mine. I'm just going to flat out tell you, your focus area does not align with their focus area. And this is why. Facts. That's why you bring me in, or any consultant that does this, right? That's what a true professional will do, is be honest with you, not take your money. And then also this quarter has a lot of other things that are happening. It isn't just, we're writing in all these grants. And while I do have a lot of grants that are due this month, next month, into actually December, everyone matters. And those have been carefully inlined, chosen, and put on a spreadsheet and created by me to create a system that is proven to be successful for my clients. When we bring in new ones, we have to be mindful of my time and theirs. And hey, is this a good fit? Can we fit this in? Maybe one of your team members can jump in. Sometimes I'm the only one. So we got to be very mindful with our time and what is the highest priority. Then we have the grant reports. Right now, I have a lot of different grant reports that are due this quarter. I have some that my clients got the award 2 years ago, and now we're submitting the last few grant reports so we can reapply for 2026. And sometimes my clients will forget, we can't apply again right now. No, we can't. Unfortunately, this is the type of grant it is. It's every other year, or it's every 2 to 3 years, et cetera, et cetera. You got to know what kind of grants you're applying for. That's why you got to know in the beginning. You got to kind of brainstorm. It's kind of like a pre-writing process. You have to be able to sit down, figure out the numbers, figure out what you're applying for, figure out how the focus is with theirs. And it's really not, it's like a pitch. It's like you're pitching your nonprofit against other nonprofits, but also being able to talk about your impact through measurable data, your mission, vision, your title, your narrative, and then breaking down the budget. So everybody I work for has somebody that does their budget. And what I do is I ask for the budgets and I ask them to send it to me so I can break it down of what we're applying for. Sometimes it's easier than others because depending what we're applying for, right? If it's a capital building, which I have a couple clients right now that are dealing with buildings projects, you have to be really mindful of what you're applying for, what you already have, your costs, and you got to work with the contractors that also have their budgets. So there's a lot that involves in that. But then it's also building the calendars up for 2026. All year, I've been building calendars up and building the next pieces for them for the following year, being able to say, this is what we got. And this is our post reports due. This is our meetings coming up for these prospects, funders, when their grants, when we got invited to do this. So it's not only that you're staying in the present and you're working on things now, but you're also working on things for the next following quarters, right? It doesn't stop just because the holidays are coming. It doesn't stop just because it's the end of the year. And it doesn't stop just because your fiscal year might have been in June, or May, or this month. It doesn't matter. It's just things keep going. And that's why you have to have a great strategy. You have to have a great team or great team of volunteers. You have to be constantly mindful of everything. So if you're the president or you're the executive director or the leader of the nonprofit, you really got to be able to be transparent and lead everybody, and to know that, hey, maybe our volunteers are getting burned out. Maybe we need to have a meeting, and maybe we need to revamp our volunteers, meaning, okay, maybe we can find a different space for them, bring in some fresh faces that will help with our fundraising goals. Because believe it or not, your board is a really important asset to your nonprofit. And then think about your fundraising. And if you're lucky enough to have a fundraiser and then have separate of a grant writer, well, then you're doing amazing, because that's already more than many nonprofits have. And one thing I used to see more of, and I don't see as much now, which is amazing because that means people are learning and growing and understanding it more, is grants do not keep the light bill on. Let me repeat that. Grants do not keep the light bill on. And so it's really, really important that you understand that, and that grants are kind of like your next step. So I have one client, they spent years fundraising, and then they worried about grants like over a decade later, if not longer. And that shows that they have an incredible backing of funders, of donors and people that are supporting their nonprofit. And that you need. That's your pipeline, because I used to be a director of development. I used to do the sponsors more. And so I understand, and those are important, because I just talked to somebody the other day. I do not work for them, but they had reached out, asked me some advice. And they're struggling, they're a first responder nonprofit, and they're struggling with sponsors. And I said, well, your first mistake is, why didn't you go sign them up the last time you had the event? Keep that relationship going. And unfortunately, when you deal with volunteers, it's hard, because this is your volunteering. This isn't a job. You have a job on top of your volunteering. And trust me, I understand. If anybody, I understand, because I held a board of director position for over a decade. I was the leader of many nonprofits. I was driving many, many miles away from my home to go pick up donations and get donors. And trust me, I was always on the phone. It did take up time from my family. And I've tried to find a way to incorporate my family and kind of help teach them how to be great volunteers and stewards in the future. That's what I did. And it worked, but it does burn you out. So, I decided this past January to give up my board of director role after going on 11 years. Why? Because I got burned out on it, and I wanted to help my clients better, and that's what I chose to do. So trust me, if you have somebody like that on your board or part of your volunteers and they feel underappreciated or burned out because maybe nobody else is jumping in, then it's time to kind of re-strategize your board or your team of volunteers and whoever's in charge, to realize that they're human and that they may need to do and be somewhere else. And when I talked to this person from the first responder nonprofit, that's what I heard, and I understood it. And I just said, I understand. So they went to a GoFundMe page just to ask for donations, which I get it. In this day and age, you could do GoFundMe. You could do it in so many ways. I've seen a gentleman on Instagram, I think it was, or TikTok or something, where he was able to raise money for his education by asking for 1 penny from an X amount of people. And he was able to cover his entire education. How cool is that? So if you have a great team and you have a great team that's willing to be creative, trust me, strategy is what you need. Strategy and coming up with an amazing plan of action. And so if you want to learn more and you need somebody like me to come in and help you, I encourage you to reach out to me. I always do take time for people. I do set up consultations, and I represent some amazing service organizations, disabled, military affiliated, or military in the community wise, first responders, youth, underserved youth, and why am I struggling? War memorials, cultural arts centers, community centers. Yes. Churches. Why didn't I mention that? So yes, I brought a church on last year. It was a huge different change for me, but I brought it on. And to be honest, it's been an amazing experience so far. We've really been able to make really huge, authentic connections. We've found quite a few grants that we can apply for and have applied for, taken the opportunity to meet with grantees in person and have site visits. It's still a work in progress, but it's more work than they ever saw before me. And they had a consultant they brought out of state prior to me that never showed progress or evidence or even created a system for them to use after them. And so when I came on, they had nothing, and we started from the ground up. And whenever, we part ways, they'll have a system in place and they'll have connections, and they have their team has pursued those every lead and went and met with folks. They've created a plan of action, and their team is also community stewards, and they've been in roles where they're able to connect with someone else, even with my suggestions. And honestly, it's been a great experience. So sometimes you really have to look, is your organization okay? And then what's separating you from the ones that are not doing okay to the ones that are, and then what's different? And really it's about the strategy. It's about your team. It's about having professionals that really can help you start somewhere, because we can all volunteer, but if there's nobody on there that understands the fundraising, understands the steps that need to go through and how you need to present it, and then the systems that are in need, you're going to stay where you are. And I've seen it. I've seen nonprofits I used to represent stay in that hole where they just keep rotating the obvious problems, and they're not really choosing to fix it eternally. So with that said, thank you for tuning in. I hope this was a little bit of help to your nonprofit and to you fundraisers out there, to you grant writers. I commend you. It can be a lonely road when you are a consultant, but it can also be an amazing road because you are consulting, you're making a difference. You're helping so many nonprofits out there with their missions and impact. So keep carrying on and tune in for more in the future. Take care of yourself. Have an amazing September.